Now, before I jump into today's video, I do want to make a special request, and that is if people can please like my video and leave comments. As many of you are aware, I have been out of action for the past week, pretty much. I have broken my shoulder, and between the painkillers, the need for rest, all that sort of stuff, it makes it very hard for me to actually get any content done. Although today I'm determined to get this video done. So one of the things that YouTube loves to do is punish people for not sticking to a schedule, meaning that there's a good chance that this video may not be seen by a lot of people. If you can hit the like button and leave comments, then that will tell you, YouTube, that it's worth pumping this out into the algorithm and showing people that this video is there. So this is not the video that I had planned for today. I was sitting there and I was creating screenshots to use of all the motions that have just been filed by Stearns' defence team. And it got me thinking. The first thing I thought was, who the heck is this Melissa Vickers? I really detest this woman. How can a defence lawyer put out such blatantly ridiculous motions? Motions that are essentially trying to deny Maddie of her justice. That's what it is. It is basically attempting to get Stearns off for some pretty horrible acts. And it seems to be completely disregarding Maddie at all. And I found myself wondering, I wonder if this woman knows anything about Maddie. I wonder if she's looked at any images of Maddie. You know, it made me want to send her a photo of Maddie and say, this is the child who you are trying to deny justice. So, I really don't like the woman, basically. From reading the various depositions that are coming out, I really, really don't like her at all. So I wanted to find out who she was. Now, the first thing I discovered is that she's only just become public defender on the 20th of August of 2024. So she's only been in office for about 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. So clearly this is one of her first cases, as public defender, and she's out to prove herself. And how is she going to do that? She's just going to file motion after motion and waste so much money. Because you think about the staffing costs for doing all these motions. She is wasting money to defend this scumbag with motions that hopefully the judge won't allow to stick. Now, the other question I had about this woman is, does she have any children of her own? How can a mother justify some of these motions that she is making? So I did a little bit of research, and she has adult twin boys. So she doesn't have a daughter. She has adult twin boys, and probably maybe they've been just as enabled as Stearns. I wonder if she has nieces, but I'm not going to dig into her family background too much because I've got better things to do with my time. But clearly I wonder about how much maternal instinct this woman actually has. So in digging around to find out stuff about her, I came across an article, and I was actually kind of fortunate with this article because it was meant to be hidden behind a paywall, but for some reason I managed to click onto reader view before the paywall came up, and I managed to get the entire article. So I'm going to read through it with you now because I think this gives us some idea of who this person is as a woman, who this defender is as an individual, and maybe what we can expect going forward. I suspect that this may not last, because if she is as toxic as it sounds, I'd imagine there's going to be staff moving on from her office in the near future. Anyway, let's have a look at this article. Now, before I jump in, I should probably mention that we are now into the second week of an unbearable heat wave here. So, yes, I do have the aircon running and the evaporative cooler running, so I apologise if that's loud in the background. Okay, so this article was the Orlando Sentinel, and the title, dubbed toxic, top candidate for Orange Osceola public defender was forced to quit the office she wants to lead. So obviously this was written last year while she was campaigning for public defender. There were only 2 people campaigning for public defender. She got the job. A top candidate for Orange Osceola public defender was forced to resign in 2019 from the office she now hopes to lead, branded as toxic after she made inappropriate comments about her supervisor and colleagues. In an interview this week with the Orlando Sentinel, Melissa Vickers, once the number 2 administrator in the public defender's office, apologised for her expletive-laden remarks against public defender Robert Wesley and 2 other employees sent in August of that year as instant messages to a ranking attorney she oversaw. Details of the communications were first shared with the Sentinel by Wesley, who is set to retire following this year's election after serving as public defender since 2001. The Sentinel obtained additional material through a public records request. Wesley is now backing Lenora Easter, the other candidate, to replace him. According to the messages, Vickers was frustrated with Wesley and wrote that the 2 other workers should rot in hell next to Bob. She then asked the recipient to please delete these IMs. One of the employees, currently Wesley's research and writing chief, Catherine Conlon, appeared to be a particular source of Vickers' ire, as she wrote, "They are both a-holes who are too much of wimps to live in the real business world." Stay away from that biatch. She'll get you fired if you look at her the wrong way, Vickers wrote of Conlon. Days later, Wesley emailed Vickers that he accepted her immediate resignation, writing that the message string demonstrates that your presence is toxic and that your remarks concerning co-workers are harmful and unprofessional. Vickers told the Sentinel she was venting in what she considered a private conversation, but acknowledged that the comments were inappropriate. She said she already was slated to leave the office in October after putting in her resignation weeks before the messages were written, but left immediately after they came to light. Emails obtained by the newspaper support this version of events. "I take full responsibility for what I said. It was inappropriate, it was wrong, and I shouldn't have said those things," Vickers said. "This was one snapshot out of 18 years at the office, and I have no ill will against any of them." Wesley sent a message to agency managers announcing Vickers' departure and warning their staff that their emails and instant messages were being monitored. "Delete does not always mean delete and cannot conceal rude, hateful and improper messages," he wrote. His support for Easter, who has always served as a public defender in Central Florida and elsewhere in the US, is featured on her campaign website. But the reasons behind his break with Vickers, once considered his chosen successor, were not publicly known until he reached out to the Sentinel. In an interview, Wesley described Vickers as devious and someone who was able to conceal the worst parts about her. If Melissa wins, I don't think I can be counted on to say something helpful, Wesley said. The messages shared by Wesley are the only blemish appearing in Vickers' personal file over her time at the Orange Osceola office of the Public Defender, which she joined in 2001. She then climbed the management ladder steadily, and in 2017 she was promoted to Chief Assistant Public Defender. Included among the records are positive performance evaluations, a 2002 letter by Wesley congratulating her on receiving an award for her work, and a letter sent by the parents of a former client in 2014 calling her and another attorney simply wonderful. In her bid to replace Wesley, Vickers has collected a vast slew of high-profile political and legal endorsements, including Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer and Florida House of Representatives Anna Eskamani. Her list also includes former assistant public defenders who worked with her during her time in the agency. I disagree with Bob's assessment that I created a hostile work environment, Vickers said. That's not who I am. Well, of course she's going to say that. Who's going to turn around and say, oh yes, I'm the kind of person that creates a hostile work environment, especially when you're trying to be elected as public defender. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch how things unfold in the lead up to this trial, and also if it is televised, to watch interactions between her and her team. But Conlon told the Sentinel that there had been some animosity between her and Vickers over a period of several years, though at one point she considered Vickers to be a good friend. The strife apparently stemmed in part from Conlon being assigned to work in the Public Defender's Osceola County office, a supposedly temporary move that ended up lasting for several years. Conlon said at the time she felt like she was being targeted by Vickers, who she said had conflicts with others at the office. At the time, she said no one felt comfortable telling Wesley about their issues with Vickers, calling it a losing battle. If I worked for Elon Musk, I wouldn't complain about him to HR, Conlon told the Sentinel. She was slated to leave the office in 2019 before Vickers' resignation was accepted, early in light of the messages. I told Bob I was looking for a job, then she left, and when she left he found a way for me to stay on. Vickers denied she was the reason why Conlon was sent to work in Osceola, saying that she advocated on Conlon's behalf. Still, while Conlon described Vickers as hostile in the office, she acknowledged there is a draw to her from an attorney's perspective. She's a strong person who can try cases and is very personable, Conlon said. If she liked you, you could feel it. For those people she targeted, they would just leave the office. When asked, Vickers said she would not seek Conlon's removal should she win the election for public defender. This was 5 years ago, she said. I hold no grudges. So my takeaway from this is that she is an extremely ambitious woman who basically is more concerned with her own future and her own position, her own standing, than with supporting the people around her. I suspect that it probably is going to be a toxic environment. People like that just don't change. So I'd imagine that right now she's probably putting pressure on those people who work for her to prove their worth. And that's probably the reason why we are seeing all these motions coming through. She's probably cracking the whip, and these people are probably afraid of losing their jobs if they don't get in and come up with all this crap for her to file. She's definitely ambitious. I'd say that she's someone who's got her sights on becoming a judge at some time in the future, and she wants to prove herself with Stearns' trial. And I really hope that she doesn't prove herself with Stearns' trial, because I want to see full justice for Maddie, not some newly minted public defender just trying to strengthen her position and using Maddie's trial for her own public standing and as a stepping stone for whatever she's aiming for next. I think we've all worked with people like her at some time in the past. They have their little group of followers who will bend over backwards and do anything for them because they massage their egos and they treat them really well so that they have that support there, and those people don't see what a toxic person this is. And then in the background there's the other people that are treated so badly by them but are too scared to speak up because they know that she has these followers who dote on her. You know, the type, the toxic narcissists who are so very subtle with that divide and conquer. And they know how to target people and isolate people. And I suspect that's exactly what she is like. How this is going to affect Stearns' case, all I can say is that I think that she's trying to prove herself right now. And I think there's probably going to be a lot of pressure for those who work on her to be producing more and more of these motions in the coming months. Hopefully, there's a strong judge who's just going to look at all these motions and throw them out. Now, as I said before, I have done screenshots of all the most recent motions filed by this crazy woman. And I was going to do a read through. I've noticed that a few other creators have already spoken about these. So I'm just wondering if you're still interested in me looking at these documents, or if you're not particularly bothered with me reading through them. So I would love to hear comments on that as well. So thanks for listening. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, please, like I said, hit the like button and leave a comment. Help me get my videos back out into the algorithm. I can't promise that I'm going to be up here every day. It's not the easiest road when you have a broken shoulder. No one tells you how much a broken shoulder hurts. Sorry, just a little bit of Suki Lala, bit of a Stephen Stearns moment there. But I will endeavour to get my videos out as frequently as I can. Like I said, let me know what you think of this defender. What you think that this could mean for Stearns' trial. And also let me know if you do want me to go through the documents that have been filed, these latest documents. There's so many of them, it's ridiculous. I'm happy to read through them if you want me to. If you've already had them covered by other creators and you feel there's no need, feel free to tell me that also, and it'll just help me to decide what direction to go with my next video. So thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.